On October 6, 1993, Chicago Bulls shooting guard Michael Jordan shocked the world and announced his decision to retire from the NBA. Coming off a three-peat at only 30 years old, Jordan was at his peak and cemented himself as not only the best player in the league, but already one of the greatest basketball players of all time. MJ's reason for stepping away from the game was simple. He had nothing left to prove. He stood alone at the top of the NBA mountain and had taken down all who stepped up. He had taken down Magic Johnson's Lakers, Clyde Drexler's Trailblazers, and Charles Barkley's Suns. He had undoubtedly proved that he was the best basketball player on the planet, and there was zero contest. Jordan emphasized that he reached the pinnacle of his career and had no motivation to continue playing, saying at his press conference, "I've always stressed to people that have known me and the media that has followed me that when I lose the sense of motivation and the sense to prove something as a basketball player, it's time for me to move away from the game of basketball." Some people speculated that Michael Jordan stepped away from the game due to the untimely death of his father. Some people speculated that Jordan stepped away from the game due to a serious gambling problem. But this is not a video where I talk about or conspiracize why Michael Jordan retired. This is a video where I answer the question of what if Michael Jordan didn't retire in 1993. There is no doubt Jordan was mentally exhausted following his first three-peat with the Chicago Bulls. Jordan was coming off 7 straight seasons averaging 30-plus points per game. He was an all-star every year of his career up to that point and was hands down the best regular and postseason performer. Jordan was coming off 2 straight finals runs that saw him average at least 34 points per game. He had to go through the toughest teams the Eastern Conference had to offer just to make it to the finals, including the Detroit Pistons, who invented the Jordan Rule, New York Knicks, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jordan had to give everything he had to win 3 straight titles, and although he wasn't doing it alone, he was the one who made all the difference. In their first year without Jordan, the Chicago Bulls finished with a record of 55-27, only 2 wins off of matching last year's record. Led by Scottie Pippen, the Chicago Bulls seemed to be doing all right without Michael Jordan, making it all the way to the second round of the playoffs before losing to the New York Knicks in 7 games. Besides Game 7, the Bulls had only lost each of their games by 5 points or less. As great as Patrick Ewing and John Starks were, I can confidently say that if Jordan was playing, this wouldn't have been a 7-game series, and the Bulls would have made it to yet another Eastern Conference Finals. You have to remember that Michael Jordan retired at his peak. Typically, players in their primes enter at around 27 and last till around 32, 33 years old. Michael Jordan was right in the middle of that. He retired at 30 years old. Whatever you were seeing from him during those finals runs, he would have replicated that and then some. There is no scenario where Jordan averages any less than 32 points per game and leads the Chicago Bulls to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers. Believe it or not, Michael Jordan had not matched up with the Indiana Pacers in the playoffs up to this point. Led by Reggie Miller, this was not a team MJ and the Bulls should take lightly. Reggie Miller was hands down one of, if not the best, shooter in the game. To this day, he is considered one of the greatest shooters to ever play the game of basketball. The Knicks had beaten the Pacers 4-3 in real life, but we have Chicago taking down the Pacers in 6 games. At the end of the day, Reggie Miller has Rick Schmitz, Derek McKee, and Antonio Davis as his supporting cast. Jordan has Pippen, Horace Grant, and Tony Kukoc. I would say that was the difference maker, but we all know who the true difference maker was. The Chicago Bulls would then match up with a brand new challenger, the Hakeem Olajuwon-led Houston Rockets. Michael Jordan wanted some more competition. Well, he got it. This Rockets team was loaded with talent, including Hakeem, Vernon Maxwell, Robert Horry, and Sam Cassell. The Rockets had a deep team with a ton of talent, but the only issue is they wouldn't have had the best player in the series like they did against the Knicks. The Bulls take down the Rockets in 6 games, and Jordan would win his 4th straight Finals MVP. There is nobody on the Rockets who can come close to guarding Jordan. As phenomenal as Hakeem was against the Knicks and would have been against Chicago, he can't stop MJ. Not him or anybody else could try. Next season, the Bulls are on top of the NBA just like they always have. In real life, they finished with a 47-35 record, which would have been their worst record in 6 years. Remember when the Chicago Bulls finished with a 72-10 record in 1996? Well, they would have come damn close to topping that this year. They would go on and finish with a 68-14 record, which would be the best record in the NBA. Jordan would go on and win his 4th MVP, averaging 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists a night. The Bulls would pave their way through the Eastern Conference and make it all the way back to the finals. They take down the Hornets 3-1, Magic 4-2, and then the Pacers again 4-2. They would have a rematch with the Houston Rockets in the finals for a second straight season. The addition of Clyde Drexler makes this series far more interesting than their first matchup. Hakeem, Clyde, Robert Horry, Mario Elie, and Sam Cassell are good enough to take this series to 7 games, the first 7-game series in Michael Jordan's finals career. Remember when Jordan was talking about having zero motivation? Well, pushing this series to 7 games only motivates Jordan to put on one of the greatest performances in his career, taking down the Rockets in Game 7 to win the Chicago Bulls their 5th straight championship. Of course, Jordan is named Finals MVP for the 5th straight year, and in all honesty, cements himself as the greatest basketball player to ever live. Does all of this winning cause more fatigue and makes Jordan actually think of retiring on top? Sure, but not before winning 3 more championships as he did in real life and going on the greatest stretch that anybody has ever seen in basketball history. Jordan would retire after the 1998 season, or The Last Dance, as he did in real life. But this time around, he doesn't come out of retirement for the second time and play for the Wizards. He stays retired and goes down as not only the greatest basketball player, but the greatest athlete of all time. As great as those Houston Rockets teams were, the only reason why they won those 2 championships is because they did not have to face Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. If Michael Jordan hadn't retired in 1993, he would have won 8 straight NBA championships, 8 straight Finals MVPs, and would cement himself as the greatest basketball player of all time. And to this day, there would be zero discussion who the greatest player of all time is.